Whatley, who is the chairman of the North Carolina GOP.
Thank you, Tony, and what a fantastic job you and your team have done in putting together this wonderful lunch. And wow, how do you follow that? So let me just start out real quick by saying this. Is this a great time to be a Republican or what? You know, when you look at North Carolina, this is one of the top 4 states for President Trump. In order to get reelected, he has got to win every state that John McCain and Mitt Romney won, and he will. And then he needs to win Ohio and Pennsylvania and Florida and North Carolina to get over the 270 electoral votes that he needs. Now, if we lose Pennsylvania, which is the toughest of those 4, he's going to have to win Iowa and Michigan and Wisconsin. Now, we got lucky in 2016. We swept all of those on the way to 306 electoral votes. But if he does not win North Carolina, he will not get reelected. Are we going to let him down? No. We also have the #1 Senate race in the entire United States. Democrats spent $84 million in North Carolina trying to defeat Tom Tillis and defend Kay Hagan. They're going to come back this year. It's the #1 target race in the entire country. They're going to bring 75, 85, maybe even $100 million into this state because it is so important for keeping the Senate in the Republican hands, being able to confirm the Republican judges, and being able to support President Trump and his build-out of the U.S. military and the U.S. economy. We also have the #1 opportunity in the entire United States to knock off an incumbent Democrat governor. And we are absolutely going to send Roy Cooper back home where he belongs. So I'm very excited to announce our next speaker. He grew up in Charlotte. He was trained as an architect. He had a 20-year career with one of the best architectural firms in the state. He ran for lieutenant governor as his first entry into the political scene. And he had to go into a runoff even to get the Republican nod. Then he had to go into a recount in order to win by 7,000 votes in his first race in 2012. He did such a fantastic job as lieutenant governor. And he worked with people all across this state to where he got 2.4 million votes and won a huge margin in 2016, leading the top of the ticket. He is a man of family. He is a man of faith. He's a man I am proud to call friend. He is Lieutenant Governor Dan Forest.
Well, it's great to be with you today, and what an awesome crowd we have here. You know, I could say nobody in this room wants to get up and follow Donald Trump. Really, they don't want to follow any Trump. But to follow a Trump and then a dog, I mean, that's like, come on. You know, we do Facebook stuff all the time. You follow us on Facebook. You know, we're pretty prolific out there, and I can post something on Facebook and we'll get a lot of reaction to it. But if you post a puppy, it'll be twice as much. If my wife is in the post, it's like 10 times as much. I don't exactly understand how this works, but following Lara Trump's like that. So I'm not going to try to energize you like she does because that's an impossible task. But I'm going to say this to you. Thank you for what you're doing. What you see in this room, in Prestonwood Country Club in Cary, North Carolina, is happening all over America today. It's happening all over North Carolina. In fact, everywhere I go, Republicans are fired up just like this. And it's a sellout crowd everywhere I go. And what that tells you is that we have the momentum. And if we keep the momentum, we're going to be successful in 2020, electing Donald Trump, getting rid of Roy Cooper, keeping the Senate race here in North Carolina. We are going to be successful across the board and all the way down the ballot. But this takes a massive effort from everybody in this room. I will agree with Donald Trump. We have one thing in common here for sure, and that is that we both believe that we live in the greatest country in the world. the United States of America is hands down the greatest country in the world. And isn't it refreshing that we have a president that is willing to tell the world that the United States is the greatest country in the world? We also have something else going for us, and I'll agree with Lara on this, that we live in the greatest state in the greatest country in the world. And so the bar is really high for us. We have a lot of work to do to protect what we love so much. You and I each called North Carolina home for a reason. We love North Carolina. It's because of the people. It's the people of North Carolina that make our state so great. And we have a lot to fight for and a lot to protect, and we're always this close. We're always this close to losing it, but we've never been more close than we are right now. I think you all know that elections have consequences, don't they? Elections have consequences. We're seeing that in Washington right now, aren't we? We're seeing the price of the consequences of elections with Nancy Pelosi leading the House once again. We're seeing the circus that has gone on in the United States over the last couple years with Nancy Pelosi being the Speaker of the House. We've seen the impeachment circus because of the consequence of that national election. But we had consequences here in North Carolina too, didn't we? We had consequences in 2016 and we lost the governor's mansion. We weren't on the ball. We weren't paying attention. We didn't have our eye on the ball. My friends, it is time to pay attention like we've never paid attention before. Because you see, the consequences of that election go really deep in our state. The consequences of that election are a governor who believes that sheriffs don't have to work with our federal government to keep violent criminals off the streets in North Carolina. We have a governor who believes that it's okay to allow a poor, helpless, innocent child lying on a table after it's been born to allow it to die. That's called infanticide. That is not a North Carolina value. We have a governor that believes that the constitutional amendment that you all went to the polls and you worked so hard to pass, to be able to show your ID when you show up at the ballot box to protect the elections that you hold so dear, the freedom that we hold so dear in this country, he said that's unconstitutional, and he sided with the judges that said we shouldn't have voter ID in North Carolina. We have a governor who said, you know what, we're not going to defend our farmers in North Carolina. I'm going to veto the Farm Act. Instead of protecting our hardworking farm families here in our state, he worked with the trial lawyers and against our farmers in the state. That's unconscionable in a place like North Carolina. And we have a governor who, as Lara said as well, the president's fighting every single day for opportunity in education, but our governor doesn't want opportunity in education. He said he would do away with opportunity scholarships. He said he would do away with school choice in North Carolina. The poorest of the poor students in our state that happen to live in a zip code where there's a failing school and they don't have any other choice but to go to that school, he wants to do away with that option for them. The governor sent his girls to St. Mary's to get an education. Good for him. This is America. That's great. We all want our kids to have the best opportunity that they can have in education. But should we provide an opportunity for an excellent education for all kids in North Carolina? So elections have consequences. But I'll say this, we're Republicans. We don't look back. We don't blame people. Remember 8 years of Barack Obama blaming George Bush and everybody else before him for why there was a recession and why things were going wrong. It was never his fault, right? Never his fault. Then Donald Trump gets elected and amazing things happen with the economy, and then Barack Obama comes back and takes credit for it. Remember that? Republicans don't do that. That's not what we do. You know, we work hard to fix the things that are broken. So as we charge forward, we're not looking back, and we're not going to blame Roy Cooper for the mess that he's created by not working with our General Assembly, our Republican General Assembly in North Carolina. What we're going to do is we're going to cast a vision for our state. We're going to cast a vision and say, what do we want to be 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 50 years down the road? And we're going to put together the brightest minds in North Carolina, and we're going to craft a plan, and we're going to go accomplish great things like we have never seen in our state before, because that's what Republicans do. We're going to make sure that as we charge forward, we're going to continue to protect your rights. We're going to protect your First Amendment rights, your freedom of speech and freedom of speech on college campuses. We're going to continue to protect your Second Amendment rights, so you have the right to defend yourself. We're going to fight to get violent criminals off our streets and put them behind bars where they belong. We're going to fight to make sure that every child in North Carolina has an opportunity for a great education regardless of their zip code. We're going to fight to make sure that every North Carolinian, regardless of where you live in our state, has an opportunity for a good job where they can support their family and they don't have to rely on government health care. You know, right now we have a governor that's pushing Medicaid, Medicaid, Medicaid. What about pushing the economy? What about signing the budget that the General Assembly passed that would make our economy explode and give people jobs? So that they can have the hope and pride to take care of themselves and take care of their family and not have to rely on the government. That's the North Carolina that we're going to continue to push. So I want to thank you all for what you're already doing. Thank you for what you're doing. You're working hard, you're giving money, you're making calls, you're walking neighborhoods, you're telling your friends how to vote. You know, every one of you in this room, because you're paying attention, probably gets like 100 votes, don't you? All your friends is calling saying, who should I vote for? Who should I vote for? You get the opportunity to expand your horizon, so don't take that for granted. But listen, this is no doubt the most important election of our life. We say it every 4 years, and it sounds so trite, and I'm so sorry. I hope there's a time that comes that we don't have to say that in America. But I believe we live in the greatest state, in the greatest country in the world, and I want to do everything I can to fight to protect what makes North Carolina so great, but also make it better for our kids and grandkids. So thank you for working with me. We're going to take back this state, for the governor, put the governor's mansion back in Republican hands, and make sure that we return Donald Trump to the White House. God bless you all. Have a great day.